Hey, boys and girls, let's do one of my favorite stories about two of my friends, Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. Mr. Wiggle lives on the east side of town, and Mr. Waggle lives on the west side of town. They both live inside of really nice houses. Well, one day Mr. Wiggle wondered what Mr. Waggle was doing, and he decided he would go visit him. And so Mr. Wiggle opened his door, he came outside, and he closed his door. And he headed over to Mr. Waggle's house. He went up the hill and down the hill and 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 up the hill and down the hill. When he got over to Mr. Waggle's house, he knocked on the door, but he didn't answer, so he knocked again. He still didn't answer, so this time he knocked really loud. But Mr. Waggle didn't answer the door, so Mr. Wiggle went to the back door and he knocked one more time. Since he wasn't home, he headed back to his house. He went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill. When he got home, he opened his door, went inside, and closed his door. Well, the very next day, Mr. Waggle got to wondering about Mr. Wiggle and decided that he would go visit him. And so Mr. Waggle opened his door, came outside, and closed his door. And he headed over to Mr. Wiggle's house. He went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill. When he got to Mr. Wiggle's house, he knocked on the door, but he didn't answer, so he knocked a little louder. He still didn't answer, so this time he knocked really loud. But Mr. Wiggle didn't answer, so Mr. Waggle went to the back door and knocked again. And when he wasn't home, he headed back to his house. He went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill. When he got home, he opened his door, went inside, and closed his door. Well, now, a couple of days went by, and both Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle got to wondering about how each other was doing and decided to go visit. So they opened their doors, they went outside, they closed their doors, and they headed over to each other's houses. They went up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill. When they got to the top of the hill, they were so excited to see each other. They talked and 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 they danced and they talked and they danced and they talked and they talked. And they did it for so long. It was time for them to get ready to go home. And so they gave each other a big hug. And then they went down the hill and up the hill and down the hill and up the hill and down the hill. When they got back home, they opened their doors, went inside, closed their doors, and both took a nap. And that's the silly story of Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle.